So today I'm going to talk about the personal statement and a little bit about the art of persuasive writing. So first of all, you might, well, the first step is just to start writing. And I just want to say that there's no one way to do this. Outlines help many people, which is why I'm having you guys turn in an outline next week. But you should really just do what works for you. Like if you prefer to jump straight to a draft, that's totally fine. And you can try to experiment with different methods for what gets your creative juices flowing. You can try, some people write in the morning, some people write at night. You can use different techniques to help you write. And probably by now you mostly know what works for you, and I advise you to stick with that. And then just a reminder to remain vigilant against procrastination. I experienced a lot of procrastination making this presentation, and I ended up actually using the Pomodoro technique to help me finish it. So if you haven't checked it out, highly recommend that. And also remember that writing is mostly rewriting anyways, so it's good to just get started and then worry about the perfection later. Okay, so your personal statement is your story. Your opening paragraph is going to shape the way the reviewer will visualize you telling your story. But the personal statement is also a professional statement. So it's a story of you as an academic and a scientist. And what you want to do is to try to incorporate intellectual merit and broader impacts into your opening paragraph when you're describing yourself. And I have a list of my favorite openers for the personal statement. And that is, you can describe a story of a research experience, a memorable research experience, story of an outreach experience, a story about something that you're really passionate about scientifically, a story about the broader impacts of your own research, or just a story of you where you basically sum up everything about yourself into one paragraph. And I sent out my favorite great intro paragraphs. The first one is the 2014 Plant Pathology one. And this one I really like because they address the broader impacts of the types of research they were doing. So they were doing plant pathology research, and what this person did was really bring it to like the people who are farming and are actually affected by crop diseases. And it's also really well written. There's visual descriptions, it's really engaging and compelling. And it also highlights the applicant's international experience, which is an intellectual merit. This one from the 2020 Ecology essay, I really loved because it started off with a description of the applicant doing broader impacts. So doing outreach to K through 12 students. And it also, this whole opening paragraph just demonstrates that the author is super passionate about both their science and the broader impacts of their science. It also has a really nice summary of themselves at the end that really sets up the entire personal statement. And then the last one that I liked was the 2019 Plant Science one. And this one, it doesn't really tell a story, and like it doesn't tell you like of a situation that happened, but it does do a really good job of just summarizing this individual, showing off their intellectual merit, and even includes a little bit about this person struggling with some grades in one semester, and they're able to like address that really deftly and even spin it to be like overcoming adversity. So. For your intro paragraph, I have a couple prompts to help you start thinking about what you might want to do. The first one that I really love is just ask yourself, why grad school? Why are you in grad school, or why are you deciding to apply to grad school? And maybe this has to do with your career goals or something that motivated you to join it, but it's a really good reflection to think about why. Come up with a list of reasons and brainstorm. Why do you love science? Or like, why do you love your specific field? What are you super passionate about and why? You can try to pick an amazing experience in research or outreach and describe it. Describe your scientific role model. And if you overcame adversity, this would be a chance to describe it. So try some of these prompts, brainstorm different ideas, and basically what I'll have you turn in is a draft of your intro paragraph next week. And if you want to test out multiple ideas, you can totally do that too. Okay, after the intro, your job is to basically turn your CV into an essay that is woven beautifully into a story, of course. And for each experience on your CV, you want to describe what the project was, the goals, and also the broader impacts of that research. You should mention who the advisor was and how you got involved, especially if it involved you taking initiative. Describe your role in the project and any areas where you really had independence over it. Describe what skills and knowledge you gained along the way. And then give the results of the research and whether they resulted in any publications, posters, or presentations. And once you describe each experience, you also want to try to tie the experiences together to build a story. So how did one experience build on the previous experience? Or maybe one experience was a shift or a new area of your research. So you'll want to weave them all together with connecting sentences to tell a story. Okay, so this is my advice for how to partition your personal statement. So you have 3 pages for your whole personal statement, and my suggestion is that you have one paragraph here where you have your opening paragraph. So this is your why grad school, why science, or your story. After that, you'll jump into your relevant background section. And I actually recommend using these headers, like use a personal statement or introduction, and then use relevant background, and then use an intellectual merit header. And I would take about 1 page to describe all your research experiences, and then do 1 page that describes your broader impacts. And that would include past, present, and future broader impacts. Finally, I would include a couple sentences on preparedness for proposed research, because that's supposed to be in there. And then about 1 paragraph of future goals. And it's really important throughout your essays to consider your broader impacts, and not just the broader impacts of your research, but what you bring to science. So one of the big broader impacts for the NSF is advancing diversity in science. And this includes gender, ethnicity, disability, geographic diversity, socioeconomic status, first generation. And so you really want to talk about how you will advance diversity in science. What do you uniquely bring to science? If you are in a position of privilege, how will you leverage that privilege to help those that are disadvantaged or underrepresented? And if you are a minority on one axis of privilege, I actually recommend that you join organizations and target those in similar groups for your outreach activities. Okay, so those are my tips for the personal statement, and then I have 3 tips actually for writing more persuasively. Number 1 is write clearly. And I have a book recommendation if you're interested. It's called On Writing Well by William Zisner. And it's actually, not surprisingly, really, really well written, and it's pleasurable to read. And you can find PDFs of it online as well. So if you feel like you're not a very clear writer, this could be a really good resource for you. And I'll summarize a couple points from that book. Or 1 point that I got from it, which is that you should omit all unnecessary words. And this is actually really great for the GRFP application because you don't have very much space to begin with. So, and it also makes your writing a lot clearer and more enjoyable to read. So you can do that by stripping every sentence to its cleanest components. Always use shorter words over longer words that mean the same thing. And make sure that every word in a sentence is doing new work. Okay, tip number 2, know your audience. So you really want to write for your audience and know what they're looking for. So I like to imagine the reviewers like trying to find the perfect GRFP candidate and write for them and make it easy for them to get the information they need to decide that you are the best candidate for this. And finally, sell yourself. So you are the star here in this proposal, in the personal statement. And you need to take ownership of what you've done. And don't understate your accomplishments. And this is really important. A lot of people have kind of an understated tone in general because they don't want to be bragging about themselves, but it's actually good to emphasize like any awards you've gotten or accolades or positive feedback from supervisors, for example. And for each experience, you really do want to talk about your role in the project and the independence and in collaborative projects. And I actually recommend going through, and when you're writing about your research, you probably will use the word we a lot because research is pretty collaborative. But for this essay, I would probably change all instances of we to I. So like, I researched this to figure out this. And tell a compelling story about yourself. And just finally remember that writing is mostly rewriting. So it doesn't have to be perfect at first. And yeah, part of this class is me helping you edit your essays and making them better. So it's just important at this stage to get stuff done, get some words on paper, and then we can work on making it perfect. So that is my presentation, and it ended up being a little bit faster than I thought, but that's okay. Here, I'll stop sharing. And does anyone have any questions? Sorry, I can be a fast talker sometimes when I'm nervous. Yeah, I'll send out the slides. Oh yeah, I'll stop recording too. I'll do that.
So how would you suggest we